At Your End Step is brought to you by Comic Town and BCW Supplies. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And Dave.
Hey,
He's back.
I'm back.
For like a minute.
For like a few
however
hours.
for however many hours this is.
It's gonna be a lot. But he's back for our very special Core Set 19
Palooza.
and like we kind of said he would be, and we're glad to have him back for this because Mike and I both know how entertaining both of us going back and forth debating M19 cards would have been, and it would have been not very exciting. So.
I could have debated M19 cards with myself. That probably would have been interesting.
Ooh, that would have been an interesting dynamic to go with for the M19 set review. I'm glad we did not pursue it.
One of those saucy puppet shows I've heard so much about.
Yeah, just by the end, you've completely separated from reality, developed many multiple personas. Yeah, it'd be good. But that's pretty much all this show is going to be for the most part. It's going to be weird how it's released and what maybe is in front of it. It might be a little bit time shifted as to because we have nationals coming up. Nationals in our backyard. We're all going to compete in it, and I definitely know that we're going to talk about that. But how we've been releasing M19, how we've been releasing Paloozas is not all at once anymore. We've been kind of chopping them up into pieces. So I'm not quite sure how it's going to roll. We'll figure that out on the back end. You might be hearing some weird stuff before the second half. Not weird stuff, but you might be hearing Nationals talk next week over the other half of the set review.
Might have to improvise,
or it could just be the whole set review. I'm not sure yet. We'll talk about that later. But you know what? There you go. You get a little sneak peek.
We're recording it now, so
get a little sneak peek.
So if you only get half of it, you can feel angry and know that we have withheld from you.
Correct.
Yeah, where do people send their complaints?
Still at D Nolan.
At D Nolan 08 on Twitter.
That's always been the complaint department. Just because you quit doesn't mean it stops.
Yeah. Or at I'm Jermaine. You can also send them there still.
Yeah, I'm Jermaine. Also works.
Also works on Twitter. But if you follow him, he'll send you secret agent activation codes. So you gotta watch out.
Also, we have a website for that too. It's screamintothevoid.com.
It's called the internet.
You just type in your message there and send it off.
It's 2018. Get used to being disappointed. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Especially in this timeline.
Yeah. All right. So, we're just gonna jump right into the set review here. We obviously have all the cards we're gonna talk about. We're gonna focus mainly on constructed, and I think we're gonna start off just in Wooburg order, finish out with multicolor cards and lands, and we're gonna start off here with white.
All right. So I'll start off here with Ajani, Adversary of Tyrants. So it's our first Planeswalker in white. And this is 2 generic white for a 4 loyalty legendary planeswalker Ajani. Has 3 abilities. The first one is put a +1/+1 count. You tick up 1. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. -2, return target creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. -7, you get an emblem with at the beginning of your end step create 3 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. So Morgan and I already had the chance to discuss the old Adversary of Tyrants here a little bit. After seeing the whole set, I'm still not super impressed. There are some cards in Standard right now. It definitely works well with Winding Constrictor being sort of the number one, whereas it works well with the counterpart, and it's also a good card to get back. The mana cost on this is restrictive, I think, for that deck, though, having to go Abzan and get into double white for that as well. The ultimate is also weird. I know you shouldn't judge a Planeswalker by its ultimate, but when your Planeswalker ultimate isn't as good as Elspeth was by herself each turn, that seems weird. I don't know what you're working for here. If there's a good enough creature in those colors to -2, and I know they get lifelink, but
yeah, I'm just laughing at Dave because the computer just shut down.
Oh god,
it is very funny.
It's thinking. It's all right. I know what the card does. It's fine.
This card will probably be, in my mind, you'll have to see what 2-drops, not just now, but then after rotation, once we move into Ravnica rotation.
Yeah.
What 2-drops exist. If there is something so good that on 2 it's good, and then on 4 it's still good when you bring it back, then Ajani will have a chance to play. I mentioned that if you had Jace Vryn's Prodigy, for example, you'd probably play a lot of this Ajani.
I mean, the Knights are still good. Like those are
those are
good foundation to kind of start with going into the next Ravnica block. So I think that if you can, it's back.
We're back.
I think like if that could be like we're gone again. All right, well,
This is gonna be fun.
Dave's computer's having a transcendental experience. It's bouncing between two different alternate realities. But I think that's a good base for like powerful 2-drops, and we'll kind of see where you can go from there. I don't think it's like a bad. It just seems like a planeswalker sort of out of place. Like it doesn't have the right stuff to go with it.
I like this card. I think it's pretty solid. I mean, it has pretty
Yeah.
solid stats, like
I'm not gonna say
four
it's
mana, 4 loyalty, and like
bad.
yeah. It's not bad. I don't think it'll see play outside of standard. But like, I don't know. We'll see what Craig Wesco does with this card, and then and then we
think
can judge it.
There's probably enough cards for white we need to be a thing, but this just feels like the kind of sort of trap planeswalker for me. The reason that the other 4-drop white planeswalker, especially recently with Gideon, was so good is because you didn't have to have anything on your board
Yeah.
for that card to be good. This card,
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
you also don't really need to have anything on your board, but if you have something in the graveyard, you can bring back immediately.
And maybe I'm just not doing well enough with that. I will say, and we mentioned this the first time we talked about it. This card definitely gets a bonus because of the changed Planeswalker rules. We mentioned how you had Sorin, Solemn Visitor, who got destroyed by Crackling Doom in that format because it would make a 2/2, and then it would be a 2 loyalty and it would die. You can't do this in any fashion. You can't unlicense Disintegration the creature they got and kill the Ajani. And for that alone, it probably goes up a few points. So I'm sure it'll see play. It's probably fine, but I don't know what it does just yet.
Right. Yeah. I think I'm okay with that.
That's fine.
Just play it in Esper Death Shadow, and then you can play your 4 mana and get your Death Shadow back.
I tried that
then
with
you
Orb of
ultimate
Charm.
it, and then you ultimate it, and then you start getting lifelinkers.
That makes sense.
This is a good combo.
Just in case.
Well, then you put the +1/+1 encounters on your
So-
Death Shadow.
Yeah, I want you to understand the math on that is awful. So deduct the life
Yeah.
total, then add 2.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
Right.
I'm
It's
I'm
like
not.
super late game. Yeah.
I'm making a joke here. These are jokes. All right, next card.
Johnny's Pride Mate? Is that what we're doing
Yeah,
here?
that's the one.
Is that what we're doing? This is a card you can get back with the Johnny,
This is true.
for the record. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2. Whenever you gain life, you may put a +1/+1 counter on a Johnny's Pride Mate. So this has been printed a couple times. It's seen fringe play, I would say, in standard. Mostly, I think, when the Enter the Battlefield tap gain a life lands were in the format. I don't know if this is better than the White Knight. Probably not, unless you're like a dedicated life gain deck and can trigger this pretty repeatedly. But yeah, I don't know.
So there might be one of those in standard, at least for a little bit. I don't know if it'd be good or not, but people were sort of pushing the horse deck again. We had the mono white Crescent
Yeah.
Sunmare deck,
Yeah.
which got a fair amount of help out of a few cards in white in this set, and this card seems to slot right in. Where this card is just fine when you're incidentally trying to gain life pretty consistently.
There are a lot of cards in this set. Like this will be a theme, especially for limited for this set, where there's definitely like a black-white life gain theme going on there. So it's a card to keep in mind. I don't think it's like particularly good, but it could see some play.
Yeah, and like all your vampire tokens have lifelink, which is important, like a combo to have. So like if you're gonna have a deck that's going to be playing vampires and going to be like white based, you still have the 1-drop vampire land sort of thing that kind of
things
curves
like-
into that.
Even like Vraska's Contempt when you're playing those colors that.
Yeah, it's true too.
Which makes for interesting combat where you're like, block Vraska's Contempt, oh, this guy got a counter, and now it's like this. So I agree, it's probably still middling, but it's seen play before, and I think the tools are here if somebody wants to play with it again. And don't be surprised when a Pride Mate is suddenly a 5/5, and you're sad.
Yeah,
So it is awkward right now. There's still Fatal Push, though. So,
also important to keep in mind.
yeah. Next up is Cleansing Nova. This is 3 generic white for a sorcery that says choose 1, destroy all creatures, or destroy all artifacts and enchantments. So they keep mixing and matching with our what's the white one you had to choose between it's like austere command, right?
Yeah.
There's austere command. There's, I guess, if you want to go, is it older than that? It was like a Chroma's Vengeance, but that one just
That's
killed
true.
everything.
There's the one from Gatecrash too, the one where you had to choose
The black white
Oh, the
one.
black white
yeah.
one is like you choose like planeswalkers or
Merciless
creatures
Eviction.
or
Yeah.
I think this card is pretty good. We are going to lose Fumigate at rotation, so knowing that there's at least a 5-mana Wrath still around is pretty important, even though this one is not nearly as exciting as Fumigate is. And Fumigate's probably not that exciting anymore. But the second half of this is super relevant, as we've seen Standard sort of build up. If you watch any sort of coverage from GU Pittsburgh, we know that there is a blue-black artifact deck that's running around. I know Morgan played against it this weekend at a PBTQ. I've played against it a couple times on Moto now. They're playing Antiquities War. This is a fine card to have against a deck like that. And the sagas and a lot of these things have really set themselves up that way. Plus, if you look at like Tezzeret, and some of the blue cards we see in here, they're still pushing that artifact theme. So having a spell that can do one or the other is pretty nice.
Yeah, and not to mention all the enchantment-based removal we have in white. I know we're going to be losing some of that when rotation happens, but we'll still have Ixalan's Binding. We'll still have Seal Away, and if you have this in your blue-white control deck, and they have it's definitely a game you kind of have to play a little bit. With your
where they cast out your Teferi.
Yeah, and obviously
and all of a sudden your Cleansing Nova becomes another 5-mana Teferi, right? It's like they look this became the same spell.
Kind of an interesting little game you might have to play for a little bit in Standard.
Yeah.
Obviously Fumigate's really good. I think Fumigate is probably the perfect 5-mana Wrath. They toyed around with a lot of different things. They toyed around with end hostilities, and that wasn't quite powerful enough. But it really feels like Fumigate's kind of like that chef's kiss, like perfect, where you want like the kind of effect you want with the Wrath Plus. I still think this is good. It is definitely a divergent option, probably a little bit less exciting.
I actually think this is more exciting for Modern.
Potentially.
You see cards sometimes, like cards like Fracturing Gust see some sideboard play. Obviously that one you can play in a green deck as well.
Yeah.
However, being able to like destroy all artifacts can be pretty devastating in Modern, like in white. Like obviously Shatterstorm sees some amount of play, and this is like a white Shatterstorm. Can also be pretty good against Bogles. Like you either just wrath it, or if they have a bunch of Umbras, you just be like, okay, well I'll just kill all of your enchantments.
Which seems like perfect. Seems like exactly what you want. So
yeah.
I could buy into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think this card, Heart of Kirin, still exists, which makes
Yes.
both modes of this in Standard also pretty relevant. But yeah, good. Yeah, I didn't think about it for Modern. That makes a ton of sense.
All right, next card we have is a weird one. It's, I guess, the first of many.
Yeah, this set is weird.
Isolate. So it's cost a white. It's for an instant. Exile target permanent with converted mana cost 1. For some reason, I thought this had Scry 1 on it as well. It doesn't Scry 1. Very narrow card. I don't know. I don't really have too many thoughts on this. Like
the narrowest of narrow cards.
the narrowest, you can Swords to Plowshares with Death Shadow, I guess. But Path to Exile already does that, but it could also hit anything.
So that was said about Mental Misstep too, and Mental Misstep's banned in 2 formats. But
Mental Misstep is free.
Yeah, Mental Misstep is free. It
can be played in any deck.
I know. I put this card on here because there's a few cards like this in this set which are obviously being printed for a specific reason. The only card that really comes to mind for me is Death Shadow. Is this printed just for Death Shadow? Because what else are we really getting right now?
I mean, if we're talking Modern, I mean, anything in the Elves deck.
Delver.
Yeah, we really need to find a way to beat Delver.
So
we do.
Cool Mana Dork. So blue white can kill Mana Dorks now. We did it. That's good.
Being able to bolt the bird on,
I'm always interested in having a new effect like this, but something has to push an effect like this, right? Like no one's just brainstorming this card.
Yeah,
Aether Vial.
Okay, that's a thing.
Pretty good. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Standard, I mean, a lot of the red decks are kind of going towards more 1-drops now, and I think like this might be, pretty solid card. But again, it's like
I'd rather
super
Slash of
narrow.
Talons than this card in Standard.
Yeah. So
But it's just it's one of those things that you'll see it. It'll see play for some reason. Maybe it's Aether Vial. Maybe against humans it's good enough in modern because of Champion of the Parish, Noble Hierarch, and Aether Vial.
Yeah.
You know that's an interesting play. But it's fun with Snapcaster, I guess, if you really have to get there. But it's
so narrow.
It's weird. It's a weird card, and it's a weird card for the core set when you are supposed to be like, this is sort of set up for newer players to open packs. And this is one of those cards that when you open a pack,
It is a rare, to be fair.
No, I'm saying if you open it up and this is one of your first packs you've ever opened, you're gonna just stare at it for a while. And like, all right.
One of the first rares that I ever opened was in a 4th edition starter, and I had Mana Vault as one of my rares. I was like, this card, but it hurts you. This isn't good. I only get to use it once, and then it hits me every turn.
Weird. It's weird how we change how card evaluations are when we are young.
By the way, this can exile Mana Vault, so...
I still remember opening a Tombstone Stairwell. And from Mirage, I don't know what this does. And my brother opened a Delusions of Mediocrity we had played after Ice Age, when they still had Ice Age packs, and we both were just like, this card's insane, because we know how cumulative upkeep worked. He's gonna gain 20 life? That's crazy. Nah, that card wasn't good.
It's
not without donate.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a good card to give to someone.
Yeah, it wasn't good until a
a
couple years later.
Yeah.
Next up we have Leonin War Leader. This is a 4/4 for 2 generic white, a creature cat soldier. Whenever Leonin War Leader attacks, create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink that are tapped and attacking. Now, I was going to move past this one. This one reminds me of...
Me too.
This one reminds me of, when I first saw it, there's another 4-drop, a Johnny something card that people thought might see play and it didn't, and I was just like, I don't know. But, as Morgan reminded me, this does an interesting impression of a pretty powerful card, which is Hero Bladehold. And while I know you're laughing a little bit there, Dave, because obviously Battlecry is one of the reasons why that card was so good.
Yeah. No, that's what I thought of when I saw this card too, but it's totally not Hero Bladehold.
But lifelink is interesting.
Yeah.
And this being a 4/4 is also sort of interesting. So I have no idea what deck would play this card. Not yet. But
do we have any Anthem effects right now?
We have a bunch of Anthem effects right
Correct.
now.
Yeah. We have the one that specifically cares about creature types.
Yeah, so you just
Radiant
name Cat.
Destiny.
Radiant Destiny. Yeah, just name Cat.
We also have
name Kitty Cat.
We have the spell that's Sam Black was playing, and I can't remember what it's called now. It's from Hour of Dose. No, it's from Rivals of Ixalan. My apologies. The creatures...
the 2-mana one?
Yeah, they get +1, or if you ascend, they get +2/+2. This is very good
I
with
think
tokens.
I think it's +2/+1.
I think it's just +2/+2 off the Ascension. I know the name of the card off the top of my head. So,
but yeah.
We have tokens. The only problem with this is that we have ways to pump tokens, but do they have to survive Chain Whirler? I hope you have the pump before it goes.
Chain
off.
Whirler or the new kind of Chain Whirler that's in this set.
Yeah.
Anything with 1 toughness right now is kind of a tough sell for me, but I could see a world where this card is good, but might need some help.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's interesting, and again, anything that reminds me of Hero Bladehold makes me happy, but I don't think that this card is that, and it's competing for a lot of things in that 4-drop slot, including the new Ajani.
It's Pride of the Conquerors. It is +2/+2.
Yeah, I knew it was +2/+2. I just know the name of it. I also will say that there's another card that could be seen play right now. Granted, it's gold, but Ariel, the legend from Dominaria, which is 4 mana for a white and a black, is a powerhouse by itself. If you get to untap with it, much like this one, is pretty good, and it's seen 0 play, even though there's black-white decks also playing knights. So this card is probably going to have to really do some cool cat tricks to make it in.
Yeah, it's hard to teach cats tricks, though.
That's true. I will say there's a card that this is probably still pretty good with, though, that we'll have a few more months with. We saw the Monument decks that existed.
Mm-hmm.
This card with Monument's kind of interesting.
They certainly exist.
And
somewhere.
You play them with Tetsugu Mizawa, like I was building, and then they're all blockable, and then you did it.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Hey.
I wouldn't recommend it. We'll just put it that way.
You
do whatever you want.
You almost made me make a bad one. I almost made a bad word.
You do whatever you want.
Rude. That was so rude.
I'm going to be playing Chain Whirler.
The idea was good. All right? The deck wouldn't be good, but the idea was good.
But is the idea good if the deck isn't good?
Yeah, why not? There's plenty of cool ideas in Magic that can't actually work on paper.
Sure. I will say, Ariel is mana intensive, whereas this one just needs to attack.
That is true.
That's like,
But
yeah,
Ariel
one
also
thing
has
has
vigilance. It was mana intensive because it cast a creature each turn.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, Richard, go ahead and get the next one.
This one's another reprint, Mentor of the Meek. This was originally in
Innistrad.
Innistrad?
Innistrad.
Yeah. So Mentor of the Meek, it's 2 and a white for a 2/2 human soldier. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. So this card is sometimes seen in cubes. I don't remember it seeing constructed play.
It's all standard play.
Okay. It is interesting that you don't have to cast the creature, so it works off of tokens entering the battlefield. So
Like the
Good to
Leaner
know.
Warcrawler.
again, I wouldn't recommend playing tokens, but if that's your jam, yeah, you can attack with a Leonin War Leader, and then pay 2, and then draw 2 cards when you get your 2 lifelinkers. So
I
kinda
mean,
cool.
This is a synergy with the Ajani.
yeah,
'Cause you can bring things back and-
Yeah, you can return a creature, and yeah.
It's a pretty weak body. You have to just say Grey Ogre, but the ability is powerful. So,
Yeah, if you get to untap with this thing, you can kind of doing it,
Yeah.
but it's very fragile, obviously. So
we do have something like Dauntless Bodyguard, for example, still in standard.
Mm-hmm.
So you could pair these two off, and try to play Protect the Queen that way,
kind of doing it, yeah.
while also drawing a card off the Bodyguard. So that's kind of sweet. White Weenie forever, man. Again, we should probably just wait to see what.
Yeah, just wait until Craig Westco comes out with an article about all the different White Weenie decks he's making. So
All right, next up we have Militia Bugler, which sounds like a teacher's trying to. It's Melissa Bugler here.
Bugler,
2 generic and a white for a 2/3 human soldier. It has vigilance. And it says, when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with power 2 or less from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So we just talked about Mentor the Meek. This is a card that sort of works pretty interestingly with it because it finds it and it also triggers it and finds another thing to trigger it. I really like this card, at least for standard. I need to see the deck that this is doing this, but if you've built your deck well, you're going to get a 2-for-1 often enough that's interesting to me.
It's important that it finds itself.
It does also find itself, which is good. It didn't have to go to Europe for
It
it.
gets the whole horn section.
Duet.
I feel like I keep going back to Modern, but what do you think about this and Modern Humans?
Seems fine.
Like
Yeah.
it gets anything except for
I'm about it.
Mantis Rider.
except for Mantis Rider,
And
Yeah.
Kessig Malcontents.
Yeah.
which
And
is
the
not even on the
Restoration
list.
Angel.
Of
But those are like one-ofs.
Right,
So, no, I agree. I think this coming off of Vile at the end of turn, this is, I don't know if it's a main deck card, but a sideboard card in attrition matchups, where this just gets you another creature, I think that's probably awesome.
Yeah, no, it's not always going to hit, even if you're playing a deck with, half creatures
Sure,
or whatever.
sure.
But I think it's something to consider. I don't know if it's ultimately good enough, but I don't know. It seems tempting to at least test it out.
I mean, I'll probably try it.
It feels like this could either be very good, or it could be the white bowler or Augur Bolus and make you
Yeah.
very angry over and over
Well,
again.
I'm gonna put these 4 cards at the bottom of the library.
But if you build your deck right, this should be pretty great. And I like that there's tools for White Weenie here, and there's this and Mentor of the Meek go really well together. I like this design. It's cool. The concept of the bugler calling out for for recruits is pretty great.
Yeah.
Pretty cool cube card, I think. Possibly.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's gone in the battle box.
Yeah.
So
All right. Remorseful Cleric. All right, this is a cool one. So this is a 1 and a white for a 2/1 Spirit Cleric. Has flying. It also has sacrifice. Exile all cards from target player's graveyard. So this is like the Crypt Creeper from
Yeah.
hell. Like this is like the super Crypt Creeper. That card was originally an Odyssey, and it was a 2/1 not flyer for 2 that you sack to remove 1 card.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Weird,
this just
so,
gets-
like-
this flies. It does every it gets them all.
Wizard of the Coast does know how to print Graveyard Hate.
Yeah,
That's actually good and playable.
yeah.
Weird.
This is yeah. I mean, this could be a great sideboard card against the standard Godfire's Gift decks.
Yep.
It's probably like the best Graveyard Hate we have in Standard, right?
Yes.
And then even in Modern, like...
Yeah, this is just a Death and Taxes card, right? This is just another thing that attacks an opponent from a different angle, and you would play it anyways in an aggressive like white deck.
And, you know, if you're playing Spirit Tribal, it got a little bit of a boost with this set. We'll kind of get to that later, but...
This is
Yeah,
part
I mean,
of it.
yeah. I mean, I think this is just... It's just a solid card. Like, 2 on fire for 2 is fine. Like, we've seen... what's the one that sacks to give all your guys
Selfless
indestructible?
Spirit.
Selfless Spirit, you know. That sees some play. And that one has like a generically just better ability, I think. But like this one against certain decks is like way better, right?
Well, you mentioned certain you had seen some play. One of the places that Selfless Spirit has seen play it is in Chord decks as a one-of target.
Yep.
This is also a sweet Chord target.
Yep.
I'm going to do this with my graveyard. I'll respond I'll Chord for Remorseful Cleric and exile your graveyard. So
Yeah, and obviously like Modern has a lot better graveyard hate than Standard. You know, most notably Rest in Peace, which you can play also in white. But this is a card that you can play main deck. Whereas
And
Rest
not
in
even
Peace
feel
is
bad about it.
Rest in Peace is kind of like probably not going to main deck that one. But yeah, I mean we have Card Clan Ironworks right now. That just won the GP. Like that's very graveyard centric. You can kind of break up the combo, or at least try to, with this creature. Something like Hollow One has a lot of graveyard synergies. So yeah, I think this is like super solid card, and I think it'll see play in multiple formats.
next up we have Resplendent Angel. This is a generic white for a 3/3 creature angel. Has flying, and it says at the beginning of each end step, if you gain 5 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance. That also has an activated ability, 3 generic white. Until end of turn, Resplendent Angel gets +2/+2 and gains lifelink, conveniently making it a 5/5 flyer with lifelink that can trigger itself. This is a great Magic card. I don't know what else to say about it. A 3/3 for 3 flyer, you can already play, it's fine. It works in synergy with we mentioned there's a lot of incidental life gain already around, and if you wanted to build that way, you could. So you might incidentally get that. For example, I don't know, Lyra Dawnbringer gains you 5 life.
Pretty good.
Also makes this angel better. And then that activated ability, this sort of reminds me of Solatheros almost a little bit. Yeah, obviously Solatheros pumped the whole team, but by itself could just be this sort of force. And I think that one of these is great on 3. It's great on whatever turn you draw it, and it's probably going to see a ton of play. Cool Mythic.
Yep.
I'm actually not as high on this card as
Really?
most people seem to be. I agree that I think it's a super cool card. I don't disagree with that. I just think with all the lightning strikes and the braids running around, like a 3/3 for 3 doesn't seem all that appealing. Like I get like you can do cool things, with Lyra Dawnbringer. Like if you have that in play, you play this, you attack, whatever. Probably winning anyway. I don't know. Like paying 6 and then get blown out by a removal doesn't seem that great. I don't know. I think it's fine. I just don't think it's like amazing. So I could be wrong on this, but
I think I tend to. I get what you're saying because yes, definitely all the 3/3 all 3 mana creatures in this format died of lightning strike instead of her Brontodon apparently, and that doesn't stop them from seeing play if they're good enough. And I think this is good enough. You mentioned you don't want to just willy nilly activate that, but the creature that has that ability is already it's just a better card to draw on your deck than most other 3-drops are anyways. So.
yeah, like I'm not saying it's bad or it's not going to see play. I just think like it might be a little overrated right now.
And I could agree with that. It might be a little overrated. You definitely need some other help. But for example, we were testing out that black-white deck that is all 4-drops and really wants more 3-drops, and a deck that's already playing Lyra Dawnbringer and has a tendency to flood out. This card looks wonderful as another 3-drop to go along with your History of Benalia. So I think it slots into a number of strategies already. I also think this is one of those kind of creatures that comes out of the board of blue-white control, for example, that's pretty good. That lets you kind of become the beatdown and do something with all your excess mana. So
yeah, I will say if you do get to trigger and get an angel token even once, you're probably doing it.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be harder to achieve than what it looks like
probably
on paper. So
all right, last one for white. Another weird card.
last card, Sun Cleanser, aka the card we should have got a year ago, probably. This is yes.
You mean this character who's obviously on the plane of Ixalan? Because interesting.
Yeah, so Sun Cleanser, it's a generic and a white 1/4 human cleric. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. So you can either remove all counters from target creature, it can't have counters put on it for as long as Sun Cleanser remains on the battlefield, or target opponent loses all counters. That player can't get counters for as long as Sun Cleanser remains on the battlefield. So what kind of counters, you might ask? Energy, that's the relevant one for standard. You got experience counters for commander. You have poison counters if for some reason you want to remove all your opponent's poison counters.
Don't remove your opponent's poison counters. Not a winning strategy, I'm going to have to admit.
You can, I don't know.
This card is frustrating to me. This card is, first of all, late to the party, and second of all, I don't know. Just doesn't seem all that fantastic.
This card would be sick if it just hit permanents or players, right? You could just kill planeswalkers. But,
then that card would be busted in half.
No, but I think
it's such. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't think it would have completely solved the energy problem, but it would have been nice to have.
So
when Aetherworks Marvel was running rampant.
Here's the frustrating line with that statement: play Sun Cleanser. Cool. Harness Lightning Sun Cleanser. Idiot.
But you have to do it in response, or then you can never do it for 4.
Yeah,
that's why it's 1/4.
Yeah, because you never get. Yeah, but
I know.
So you play this on 2. The energy deck actually, if you think about Temur Energy, you play this on 2, then you have to kill it with 2 Harness Lightnings. Or no, that doesn't even work.
No, because you can't get.
You can't even get energy.
You can't kill a Harness. You have to only kill a Glorybringer. So it would have been a pretty good card against Temur Energy
Specifically, yeah.
But which is probably why.
Even then, though, even then, there is. I don't know. It always felt like they always had so much energy in the beginning anyway.
But it's gone.
Yeah.
The energy has been expended.
Yeah. No moss. But I do like the sort of geopolitical sounding of this. We have an energy crisis, and if Sun Cleanser would have been here a year ago, we would have avoided all of this. I think the weird thing about this card, especially the first target where it says remove all counters from a creature, is so weird on a 2-drop. What creature is going to be in play that you would ever care? So you just have to hold your 2-drop then until they play a creature worthwhile, and then you just held your 1/4.
First of all, they're more than likely is it. You could say this really does a really good job of taking care of a ballista, but they just shoot you for the counters.
It kills a ballista technically, but this is a weird card, and I don't think it's going to see play, but it exists.
No, not anymore.
So. Do you think they try to unban an energy card? One energy card.
Because of this card?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
God, no.
I don't think so either, but people have been saying now that we have this.
Now that we have Sun Cleanser, you can have Warlord Rogue back.
I mean, no, you could already play that card.
First of all, you could play
Rogue Refiner.
Rogue Refiner, yeah.
Oh, sorry, not Rogue Refiner. My bad. Rogue Refiner. You're right. My bad.
I think if
I
they
think
did
two with Aether if they did anything, to be fair. But
I don't think they're gonna unban anything. But I think if they did, it would just be because is energy even that good anymore? In the current metagame, would energy if you had a tune with Aether and Rogue Refiner,
I think it would still be very good.
Oh, for sure.
It was already very good.
Still play it.
The only real new deck here is the blue-white control deck.
Yeah,
and you already had a control deck, the Scarab God one, and you could still beat that deck with. Temur Energy would be that good.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if they made that decision, which I don't think they will, but if they did it, I think it would be because they feel like energy is just fine now.
If I was going to make, this is totally separate, I'm going to make any spicy claims about the ban list, as I do think the card might get unbanned. I think the card is Rampaging Ferocidons, because it's going to switch places with Goblin Chain Whirler. It's going to do the old Teferi Amber Prison, shell switch, and Chain Whirler's like, how did I get in here? No, this isn't how it's supposed to work. They did a Prince and the Pauper switch, and they never came back. But
I see, I can see the argument, but then they also just printed another card that does the same exact thing as Chain Whirler in a different color. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess it only affects creatures. It's not the same exact thing, but as far as the token argument is concerned,
I guess. So that is white. White got a lot of weird cards.
Yeah.
But it does seem like the weenie white weenie as a traditional strategy.
It still holds true.
Gotten some pretty pretty okay tools. So I think
The Wrath is sweet too.
the Wrath is sweet.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's move into blue. And if you will, I'm going to actually tackle the first two together since they're on here just sort of as reminders. But in blue, we have Anticipate and Essence Scatter as reprints. Essence Scatter is already in Standard, but it would have rotated out because it was an Amonkhet. So it's going to stick around. And Anticipate wasn't in Standard, correct?
No.
No.
We have Strategic Planning, and this is going to sort of take that position. Strategic Planning has definitely been better in this format because of
Godfarrow's
Godfarrow's
Gift,
Gift. And now we have Opt as well, so I don't know where that leaves Anticipate in those decks. But Anticipate has definitely seen some amount of play every time it's been legal. So having another instant speed effect for these decks is something to remember.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's at its best if you're playing a combo-ish deck or you're looking for a specific card. And like you said, Strategic Planning is the better card for that type of thing right now because it fills up your graveyard as well.
Exactly.
So I don't really see a home for it now. And like you said, Opt is still around, and I think Opt just being 1 mana is just a better card generally. But if there is some type of combo deck that comes out, I mean, this will be a tool they could use.
For sure. And I'm glad to see Essence Scatter stick around. We went for a while without it where they wanted to, like, your creature should resolve. And that's fine. I agree that my creature should resolve, but there should be things that blue can do to fight back with it.
Yeah.
So in essence, and the tandem of Essence Scatter and Negate always forcing them to make the decision as to which one they want, and the awkwardness of that I think has always been fine. So
I agree.
So I'm going to insert a card in here that's not on the list.
go for it.
Exclusion Mage. So it's 2 generic and a blue for a 2/2 human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So it's almost Mana War.
Almost.
Just can't return your own creatures, though. You didn't really do that a whole lot anyway. So, unconditional return your opponent's creature. It's a wizard, which is relevant. There may be some wizard deck eventually that's good enough. I don't know. I just think it's a super solid card.
If you go turn 2, is it Naban or Nabin Dean?
Yeah.
Dean, right? Then that's pretty sweet. I don't.
I think the format has to be right for it.
Yeah, I agree. Now I will say, you mentioned this card. This is the kind of card that works well with, like, in some of the Blue-Black Scarab God decks, for example, as being sort of a roadblock that is also a really, really good target to get back with a Scarab God.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Maybe even like Godfarrow's Gift.
Also fair.
So I mean,
Okay.
I think like this is a nice card to have in the format. It's not it's not always going to be good, but you could tell like for a while they just didn't print Mana Wars, and then they went super crazy and did Reflector Mage, and they were like, okay, that's too far. But we've seen like what was the one from the old core sets? It was like 2 blue.
Aether Adept.
Yeah, Aether Adept, which are like, all right, we'll do Mana War, but we'll make it harder to cast. Like this is like the closest thing that we've had to Mana War, just actual regular Mana War. So, and that card was good. So I mean.
Fair
I
enough.
hope that the format gets to a place where this is good because Mana War's sweet.
Yeah, all right. I don't hate that.
So,
all right. Next up then is Mirror Image. This is 2 generic and a blue for a creature shapeshifter. It is a 0/0, and when it enters the battlefield, you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature you control. So this is a clone only for you, and it costs 3 mana, which is almost the cheapest one.
Almost.
We still have Phantasmal Image hanging around.
Yeah.
This is fairly interesting, though, and a pretty cool effect. I want to mention this. It already has standard applications. There's, for a while, been that blue-red Godfarrow's Gift. I don't know what that is. Gift deck that's been running around that goes off with the what's the 4/1?
Combat Celebrant.
Thank you. And it uses Viziers to make copies of it. This is another way to make copies of it and to continue the combo. So it's probably already looking for an effect like this. But you mentioned we've got some you mentioned like the Blue Tempo card we just talked about. The clones always have a chance to be interesting, and I think that if there's a deck specifically, also if there's a blue based tribal deck, this is also something that can slot right in.
Yeah.
We've seen like mono blue constructs, for example, make a couple of showings. You go turn 2 Metallic Mimic and you go turn 3 Mirror Image that's now a Metallic Mimic. That's not the worst thing I've ever heard. So I think it is deceptively powerful for being just sort of okay, it's just clone for me.
I think that being able to only copy your own creatures is a major downside to this card.
Certainly it is.
I think like probably the best clone ever is Phantasmal Image, which, you know, if you look at the humans deck in Modern, 90% of the time you're copying your own creature. But sometimes like they have a Wormcoil Engine, you're like, hey,
Okay.
that's pretty cool. Like,
Me too.
I'll do that. Or like they have a Reality Smasher, and you're like, out of nowhere, okay, I have a Reality Smasher, kill you. So yeah, like you said, I mean, there may be some combo style deck that kind of wants just redundant copies of whatever it is, and I think that's fine there. But outside of Phantasmal Image, like clones have never really seen play, and I think Phantasmal Image is it's the cheapest one, obviously. But I don't know. Like traditionally, like even when Phantasmal Image was in Standard, it was mostly like I'll copy your Geist. And at the time, it would just kill both.
Play in the Spirits deck.
Yeah.
The Drogskull Captain deck. It was a 4 of in that deck.
There was a mono blue deck that played it too.
Yeah,
as
there's also like Phantasmal Bear deck that also had the
Lord. Yeah.
So again, those are the tribal strategies. Both of those two, where it saw a bunch of play and had a Lord to copy, which is where I think it also has relevancy. Yeah, I agree.
So
it needs clones are generally better and they can do both, but I think this we'll see play.
This one's currently borderline for cube inclusion.
Meh. Just
for my cube,
Just keep regular clone.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
All right. Mistcaller. Miss the call, and you gotta call him back.
We shouldn't do this to people. Just rip their headphones off and smash them on the ground.
All right, Mistcaller is a single blue for a 1/1. It's a Merfolk Wizard, 2 relevant creature types. Sacrifice Mistcaller until end of turn. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. So this reminded me of what's that card that's played in Legacy?
Containment Priest.
Containment
Yeah,
Priest.
it's bad Containment Priest.
It's not Containment Priest. This is like Containment Priest, where it's like face up, like I have this. Go ahead and do your thing. So obviously, like your opponent, if they're gonna try any shenanigans, knows that they have to either play into this card or get rid of it
well,
first.
that's not always true.
I guess if you have Aether Vial.
Yeah, I'm only saying because it's a Merfolk.
Yeah.
Which is relevant.
Merfolk's been looking for another 1-drop other than Curse Catcher forever. And we even saw it like get into green because it had the green,
the one that you
from
control an island.
Exelon.
You gotta, an island under the Merfolk.
Yeah,
right?
it's always looking for another good 1-drop. I don't know if this one's it, but I think it's okay. I don't know. I'm not super high on this card, but
it's in Modern. I think it has applications, and I mean, granted, Merfolk's not exactly a stellar deck in Modern or Legacy right now, but
yeah, I mean, we have things like
Chord
Collected
and
Company,
Collected Company.
sure, yeah, and we get Blood Gas
through the
and all that.
breach.
Yeah, blood. Yeah, but like the thing with Through the Breach, it's awkward. It's like they cast Through the Breach. You're like, okay, I'll sacrifice my Mistcaller, and then like, okay, I'm not going to put anything in.
Well, it's the same for Collected Company. They just say,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, I'm not going to." I think that you don't care about that. You just want the effect to not happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It still technically counters the
So
through breach.
yeah, I guess if you look at it like, okay, I'm going to counter your first Collected Company. It's still okay. I still don't think it's like super
I mean,
good.
for a deck like Merfolk, sometimes that's all you need too. Like that's very important. Sometimes you just don't need to counter that one thing and then win.
Okay.
And sometimes your opponent still just puts the creature into play and then exiles it.
Yeah, sometimes your opponents don't know how cards work.
That literally happened to me in that Legacy class, or that Legacy event that we played in last year at Comic Town in the top 4, where I cast in response to a show and tell, and then they still put their Emrakul into play and then exiled it. It's like, yeah. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it.
Like I just wanted to show you that I had it. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm actually going to move past the next one pretty quickly. We had Omniscience on here, and we talked about it. It's just important to know that this is a reprint, but it is a sort of mostly a legacy card.
Yeah.
Omniscience.
So
And
Omniscience.
it wasn't expensive. It was like nearly $20. So
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit cheaper, but
No standard applications for that card?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. There's not a. If there is a way to cheat it in, is there a way to cheat it in?
If there's a way to play this, Ali Antrazi will figure it out.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing. If we would have talked
So-
about, go ahead.
There is a way to play it. Did you just play a big dumb ramp deck?
Yeah, but it's the problem with those. Then you have to have something to do with it. I guess Apex of Power. We can come to that one later. I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
But I will mention, if for some reason they did get crazy and decided let's unban all the cards just for a few months, hurrah! This card would see play if you had.
Aetherix Marble.
Yeah, if you had Marvel.
Oh yeah, that would be busted.
Yeah, no thanks.
So, but let's go to One with the Machine, which is a 3 generic and a blue for a sorcery. It says draw cards equal to the highest converted mana cost among artifacts you control. And this is actually depicting a pretty interesting story moment. This is when Tezzeret took the planar bridge from Kaladesh to the end of that block during Aether Revolt and shoves it into his arm and makes himself one with it. So it's kind of cool. I will say this is interesting because we still have a fair amount of artifacts left in the format. We have a couple of good draw spells, but this is a pretty spicy one, especially when you consider things like there's a deck that tries to cheat a 7 mana artifact into play pretty consistently. You ever drawn 7 cards? That feels pretty good. But also, there are a number of cards in the way the new Tezzeret works that want you to sort of protect your artifacts. I think of like Padim, for example, also wants you to do this. So this could be a pretty interesting draw effect. And in other formats as well, if you're cheating things out into play, or even like, maybe even something like, I'm trying to think of something that gets a big artifact into play.
Like Mirror Enforcer.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my god. Let's go back to that version of Affinity.
You just put in a Mono Blutron.
Yeah. I mean, I would draw 6 off my Wormcoil engine.
Yeah.
Even drawing 5 of a Batter Skull probably is all right.
Yeah.
I don't think this card is good at all. Don't we have a black version of this that like does the same thing for like highest converted like permanent you control?
Or
maybe it's just creature. I don't know.
This is commonly you see this in green. This is like a similar thing to like a Garruk.
Yeah.
Like
Hunter's Insight or something.
These types of cards are like sometimes okay in green because green like. Well, I was gonna say like isn't good at drawing cards, but green's actually the best at drawing cards now. But green gets like these wonky card draw. They don't just get straight up.
It is harder to blow this one out. Like and granted, we still have a braid, but
But the problem is like you need to set it up first. It's like the usually the card draw spells that see play are just like the we have Pull for Tomorrow, which is just like you know what you're getting.
That card didn't see play, but
it does in some versions. But you know what I mean, like they're just unconditional.
I agree.
This is what it's gonna do, and
definitely conditional and probably not great. But I also want to mention it definitely for the story moment, and also if you read the flavor text on it, he talks about when I grafted the planar bridge into myself, I felt my Planeswalker spark flare beyond my body. The multiverse was my plaything. It felt incredible. So one, if you want to take that like a little giggle, and the guy was super excited. That's fine. But also, he works for Bolas, who literally Bolas' whole plan is to gain the power he lost, and then all Tezzeret had to do was plug this into his arm and be like, "Oh, so this is what power feels like." That's pretty funny, actually.
I get it. Tezzeret got the Power Glove. He's playing with power now.
It's like,
I understand.
Bolas is like, I ate the mana vortex of 5 planes converging into one. I put a battery in my arm, so
I put a couple double A's in here, and boy howdy, I got some karate chop in action.
Somebody just pressed Tezzeret's back.
I just want to know how he shoved a whole planar bridge into his arm, but
he didn't shove the whole plane. It's like the core piece. They destroyed the planar bridge at the end of it, and he takes the main component that makes the bridge actually work and shoved it into his arm.
Gotcha. So. Okay. Fair enough.
All right. Next card we have is a card that I probably glossed over when I first read the spoiler.
Is so sweet. Oh my gosh.
All right, so it's Patient Rebuilding. It's 3 generic blue. It's an enchantment. It's a rare. At the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Then you draw a card for each land card put into that graveyard this way. Outside of what the card does, I think it's the art is really cool.
Oh yeah.
And this is Nicol Bolas building Amonkhet, right?
Yes.
I don't really know the whole story behind that.
So he
like wiped it out and then he built it back.
So once he felt the mending happening, he was like, "Oh crap, I have to do something." And he went to Amonkhet, and he beat all the gods and then like reprogrammed them.
Yeah.
And then he killed all of the people except for like the very young children and babies.
Yeah.
And then he had them and the dead rebuild Amonkhet with his horn. Like, his horns are apparently like a spell he casts, so you can see the horns at the center of the city, no matter where you are. And so yeah, this is him knowing that it's going to take a while for this plan to come. Patient rebuilding. This is what we have to do. But yeah, the whole like reflection of the water is
There's
awesome.
the horns, yeah. Yeah, I don't. Again, this is kind of conditional card draw. Like sometimes you can draw 3, sometimes you draw 0. Like, I guess like if you have a mill condition, like kill condition, I guess you can use this.
I think this card is a win condition by itself.
Sure.
So granted, we have Teferi already for blue white, so it probably doesn't supersede that. But if you were playing that sort of, we talk about creatureless control. This is a creatureless control win condition. It's more than likely is going to draw you a card most turns, if not more, and you don't have to do anything for your opponent to just lose the game eventually. It reminds me a lot of why. Now, granted, Nefeya Drownyard was a land, so you don't have to do anything extra to play it, but that same sort of idea where I'm not going to commit to I'm going to take one turn to cast this, and then I'm going to protect this the rest of the game, and I don't have to do anything else to win the game. We don't have anything in standard that besides like what we have the Mending of Dominaria and like Gaia's Blessing. Like that's it. It's really going to interact with this as far as a way to stop it from happening. So
I have memory.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Memory, which will also that will be rotating out. So
yeah,
and the other two haven't seen any play so far. But I think that I think it's a fairly interesting win condition in my mind. We already see a deck that's literally trying to just tuck Teferi's back into its library as its win condition, and this seems like a pretty solid. Even in those decks, like a sweet Mirror Breaker, if you could land this and keep going. Guess what doesn't work anymore? That tuck plan doesn't work too well if you're getting milled every turn. So
it's pretty gross and limited. I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And then especially with the next card on the list, which is Psychic Corrosion. So this is like the fixed Sphinx's tutelage. So this is 2 generic and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of the library into their graveyard. So you mill 3 with Patient Rebuilding. Maybe you draw a card or 2, and then you make them mill 2 more for each card draw.
Yeah, stew going.
Got a stew going. And especially if you get
Psychic
both of these.
stew?
Yeah, if you get both of these in limited, then you don't have to do a whole lot else. Like
Psychic Stew should definitely be the name of an unset card.
Yeah.
Is that like some bizarro like Simpsons character? Like
I'm Psychic Stew. Like Disco Stew.
Disco Stew can still read you. That's actually insane.
Honestly, stop thinking that.
Make it a standard card because we had Hot Soup, so why can't we have Psychic Stew?
Yeah, come on.
No, I agree. I think that I don't know if Psychic Corrosion will see play though. I put it on here because quite literally Sphinx's Tutelage did see play. And
Yes.
you don't have the draw ability on it, which is a big deal. But this is surprisingly effective and quick win condition if you have your deck set up that way. So I think that we didn't even respect it enough when you put it in your cube.
Oh yeah, it was real dumb.
But it became a card where you could just splash for that card, and your deck wasn't even designed to win that way, and you could still just play it on 3, and that was the whole game.
Yeah, this is how dumb that card was because I still had Sylvan Library in my cube also. So if you had those in combination, it was just like, okay, you're dead. Neither of those cards were in my cube still at this point. But yeah, I was definitely underestimated at first. This one, clearly much worse than Sphinx's Tutelage, but probably for the best. Like, I think this is probably a fine.
I'm going to be annoyed every time
level.
it's cast against me in Limited, and it's going to be cast against me in Limited, so...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have any other, like, mill cards? I guess, like a common or uncommon?
Millstone is uncommon in this set.
Okay.
like actual
yeah,
millstone.
you can actually do it.
Yeah, so... But yeah, but I think that Patient Rebuilding, it's definitely standard only in my mind, but I think it's a standard win condition for certain control decks, especially if you don't want to play white. If you want to go back to blue-black, say after the Scarab God is gone.
Maybe, yeah. All right, I took 2, so sorry.
You're good.
They kind of went together, though.
That's fine. I like the next one anyways, which is Psy Master I almost said Therapist. Psy Master Thopterist. Tell me, young Servo, about your feelings. This is 2 generic and a blue for a 1/4 legendary creature human artificer. It says whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. And then it has an ability, pay generic and a blue, sacrifice 2 artifacts, draw a card. This is, I think, a pretty sweet card. You know, this is another random 1/4 in blue. I mentioned Padim already before, so apparently that's where it is. But there's already a blue enchantment that does this, and it says whenever you cast an artifact spell, you make a 1/1 Thopter. And there's enough, at least right now, there's enough artifacts that cycle essentially that you can move through your deck. That this is pretty powerful, and then there's also still a number of artifacts that need to be sacrificed or go to the graveyard to get another effect. People are that artifact deck we already mentioned is playing the
Service Schematic.
Thank you, Service Schematic, where it has to go to the graveyard to get another servo, and then you have the
Puzzle Knot as well.
The Puzzle Knots, and I'm thinking of the what's the cycle of artifacts? Oh man, I'm gonna forget what it is. We have to, if you sack
implements.
Implements, yeah, the implements. So I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know if you're always looking for this, but this sort of is an engine unto itself. And those the deck that's already looking to try and play Karn is trying to play the I can't forget the Saga. I can't remember names all of a sudden. I should just die. But
Antiquities War.
Thank you. I think that this is pretty powerful for that, and not the easiest thing to kill. It can take an attack from Chain Whirler, for example, which is pretty important right now. It doesn't immediately die to Fatal Push or Lightning Strike. I think Sai has a chance to be good. So it's not Whirler Rogue, but
I think this is more than likely going to see play in Brawl decks featuring Jorah or I guess Tezzeret.
I mean,
any of the
that's definitely gonna
Tezzerets.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still don't think this card's bad though. I think like we're hitting a critical mass of like artifact synergies where like the deck just exists.
Yeah, so something to be thrown into a pan, and there it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we still have like Metalwork Colossus in the format that isn't seeing any play. So.
Yeah. That's really good with the artifact draw spell.
Oh gosh, yeah, it is. I'll draw 10. No, it's more than that, isn't it?
Is it 11? I can't
11.
remember.
I'll draw 11.
I have no idea.
I'll draw two more of those off of it.
So I'm gonna insert this one. I just want to mention it real quick. It's another card draw spell. So it's Sift. So this hasn't been in standard for a while.
Yeah,
I don't remember the last time it was printed, but
Was it
I
Magic
have
set?
definitely
I don't
I
know.
have played this card in standard before. So Sift is a sorcery. It's 3 generic and a blue. Draw 3 cards, then discard a card. So it doesn't seem that great, but it did see play in the Solar Flare decks back in the day.
yeah, that makes sense.
You wanted to dump a big creature in the yard and then reanimate it. I could definitely see this seeing play in the Godfire's Gift decks, in some form.
Mm-hmm.
So again, on its own, not great. You probably want some kind of graveyard synergies with it. That being said, if you do, I think it's a fine card. It kind of depends on do you have the time to tap out on turn 4 to do this thing? But it has seen play before, so I just wanted to mention
It's
it.
fair.
If you've ever seen the Iron Sift, it's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's wild.
I prefer the Karn art.
Yeah, the
it's less
original,
wild.
original Sift. It was originally in Stronghold, I believe, and it has
Yeah.
Karn
Digging.
digging for something.
Looking for a bone.
Probably.
Quickly, I want to also mention Skilled Animator is a really sweet card, even though I don't know if it's good enough for Constructed. It's a 3-mana 1/3 that can make an artifact a 5/5 while it's still in play. But
I like this better than Sai, for what it's worth.
really,
Yeah.
all right. I think when Sai dies, if you did anything, you still have at least a 1 with Opter. When this dies, you have nothing.
No, and I mean, if you play Sai, you don't actually get anything. You have to still
I
cast
suppose
another
it's fair, I
artifact.
suppose. That's fair.
But
Alright.
did we say what Skilled Animator did?
Yeah, I just said it makes an artifact a 5/5 creature as long as it's on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's very cool, but maybe it's good enough. We also get Sleep coming back, which we haven't seen in standard for a while. So, be
Card
prepared.
is a House Unlimited.
Yeah, get ready to die to that
Stuff.
so many times.
AKA
Limited.
the blue overrun.
Yeah.
Kinda. But pretty close.
But our next actual card is Supreme Phantom, which is Danny Phantom's dad.
Yeah,
Which is pretty cool.
that's it.
Or Granddad?
Yeah, it's
It's,
Supreme.
it's the purple guy's dad. It's the purple Phantom's
Oh,
dad.
okay, fair
That's
enough.
who it is. and
It's
he
it's
is
the Phantom.
yeah, the Phantom's dad, and and the Phantom is Danny Phantom. Yeah, see, we did it. We figured it out.
We combine the whole Phantom family.
Yeah.
All right, anyways, Supreme Phantom is a generic and a blue for a 1/3 creature spirit with flying, and it says other spirits you control get +1/+1. So it's another spirit lord. It being a 1/3 is kind of interesting too.
It's a 2-mana lord. That's great.
Yeah,
You can't really ask for anything else.
No, and I said I honestly when I first looked at this card, I thought it would have been just like a 1/1 or something, but no, it's being. This is gonna. I don't know about standard, but definitely in modern, it slots right into the spirit stack.
Yeah, like the modern Bant Spirits deck is like borderline
Yeah, it's
tier
almost
2,
there.
you know what I mean? Like Caleb Jorwood won an open with it, so
Yeah.
it's not, completely horrible, but
Yeah,
that's
Collective
definitely-
Company's a hell of a card.
yeah, that's definitely a deck that's like can catch you off guard. Like you can easily lose to that in any modern tournament.
Yeah, making like a bunch of creatures you cannot target is really good, depending on what you're playing in modern. So this is kind of just another way to make them big, and you're starting to see where we're getting to that critical amount of like just positive spirits, the same way that we have like the critical amount of like human cards. So we're verging into that, and I think like Bant Spirits is just a deck that gets to take better advantage of something like Collective Company because of their mana base.
Are there any good like spirit token makers in standard right now, or are they all like vampires?
No, there's nothing. I don't think we have any spirit tokens
Yeah, I don't think so either.
in standard. I mean, so this could just be like a modern plant, or we do have spirits that exist in Ravnica as well. So
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, so there's 2 good spirits in this set if you're looking at blue white because we already talked about your remorseful cleric. So, all right, Dave, you get Tezzy himself.
All right. New Tezzeret. So Tezzeret Artifice Master. It's a 3 generic blue legendary planeswalker. Enters with 5 loyalty. Has a +1 of create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Has a 0 ability of draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, draw 2 cards instead. And then has a -9 of you get an emblem with at the beginning of your end step, search your library for a permanent card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So this is kind of like the old template of Planeswalkers, where it's like +1, like get a token or like some way to protect itself, and like a draw a card ability, and then an ultimate. Notably, we talked about was it the planar bridge?
Right.
Is what he had grafted into.
Yeah,
his
that's what
arm.
his ultimate
And
is.
his ultimate is actually just planar bridge. You just get the planar bridge every turn.
He just like reaches into his palm and starts pulling out
Yeah.
Mary Poppins style.
Like, oh, I didn't even know I had this in here. Oh, look at that. So I think that's pretty cool, like flavor. But I do think this is a pretty powerful card. I mean, the 0 draw ability is pretty sweet. So I mean,
And it's not very hard right now in standard even to
right?
just make that a draw 2,
Yeah.
which is gross.
yeah, we have this planeswalker called Karn in the format. He's real good at making artifacts. So yeah,
Yeah, Tezzeret and Karn, best buds, I
BFFs.
guess, for
Not really, not story wise,
not in the story, but maybe in
but in
gameplay.
competitive play wise, yes, I think so.
Yeah, so Karn makes constructs. This makes Thopters, which make the constructs bigger.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. You got your peanut butter and my jelly. You got your jelly and my peanut butter.
They go hand in Ethereum hand.
Yeah, this is a
exactly.
goober. We're making goober in standard.
Yes.
No. See, I
Maybe
come back.
Goober.
I go come back for one episode. We're talking about Goober again.
Of course, we got to. Never forget.
Honestly,
Goober.
It's the only word that pops to mind when
Do
I
you-
see you. You think your name is what would pop to mind? No, it's the word goober.
Goober.
The official snack of the
Official bread topping.
We could be.
like Goober is not
We
associated
could
with
be.
that stuff.
Not sponsored, but maybe.
Do you hear me, Smuckers? We could be.
We could be. I think this card is really good. It's probably the best card in the set. I'm gonna say that.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say
Best
that.
card in the set has been called.
Yeah, I think
I actually
it's a
haven't
core
really-
set. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it. This card is very good, and I don't even think you necessarily need to have like a lot of artifacts to
No.
make it good. It's just like
No.
a solid planeswalker as is.
You know that like Crucible Worlds in this set, right?
Best new card.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
Best
Also,
standard card.
Yeah, like that. That's not. Yeah, that's not anything new.
I'm just saying.
But I would say that This card doesn't take a lot. I don't even know like if you need to play that many or any artifacts. Obviously, Chain Whirler makes this card awkward, but
Has
I
a
mean, you
billion
could say,
loyalty by
yeah,
itself, though.
but it kills all the Thopters it makes,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. But that 0 is really good. It's been compared a lot to like Jace's the Mind Sculptor 0, and the debate whether like is without shuffling is just straight drawing 2 just better than Brainstorm, which is probably a pretty good internet debate to have. But I mean, obviously we can't shuffle in this format because it's standard. We don't have fetch lands or any reliable way to shuffle consistently. But yeah, I really like this card. I think this card's pretty good. And again, there's a lot of artifact cards in this set, and I think that there is still like a critical amount of synergy to get a deck going.
Yeah. See, I think this is more if we're talking about like control decks that are not blue-white. Because I think you're still going to want Teferi. I think Teferi's still stronger than this card.
Yeah.
Overall. They do a little bit different things, but they're both 5-mana planeswalkers that seem to fit well in control shells. But I think like if you want a win condition, I'd rather play this over like that mill card. You know what I mean? Or I'd rather like build a deck in a way to maximize Tezzeret if we're going that route with it.
Sure.
But
All right, so what do we think of blue?
I mean, being that Blue got the best new card in the set, Blue made it out pretty well. I mean, like you get a lot of artifact cards, and I think like artifact synergistic cards, which I think is pretty important. It's got some standout cards. I think Blue actually made it out pretty well, constructed wise in this set. Another card we didn't talk about, but is coming in is Omen Speaker. And that's just like the 1/3/4 in the blue that
Scries 2.
that's Scries 2 when it enters battlefield, which I think like is a pretty fine card. It's not as good as it
It saw play because Mono Blue Devotion was
as it once was, but it's important to know that we just have like a dirtily 1/3 that kind of helps out. So if that's what you're looking for, but overall I think blue's pretty good.
Okay. All right, let's move into black then. So first thing I want you to do when you get to black, because I know you're on your card image gallery, and this is for you playing along at home. So stop at Bog Stomper. Tell me where don't zoom in. Tell me where Bog Stomper's eyes are.
I don't know.
Where are Bog Stomper's eyes? I hope you gotta look. If you're driving, pull off the side of the road. Look up Bog Stomper. Okay.
Is this where like the nostrils are Google eyes?
Yeah.
Thing?
So this is a snake, not an alligator. Its eyes are all the way at the front.
yeah.
It's a snake. These are the eyes up in the front. You would think they'd be back here in the head because that's what I thought too. I thought those were nostrils. No, those are eyes. This is an alligator with a random snake head, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It upsets me.
He's so cute.
Yeah, that's it. Anyways, though,
I get it now.
Bog Stomper's like the Yargle of this set. Just look at him. He's just minding his own business.
the flavor text says that they're gentle herbivores, and
Yeah.
you should approach cautiously and hum a tune to let them know you're not going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Vivian
you're
Reed
dumb.
is the Steve Irwin
Yeah,
I
that's
did
what I
not
said, like-
need for the magic world. All right, I don't need.
Crikey.
I don't need this the Saturday morning like animal show in my Magic the Gathering. All right, I'm sorry, Vivian Reed. I'm not interested in all these interesting animal facts you have.
So, based on the trek we're going on, it would be tragic when Kiora kills her. But,
Yeah, probably.
All right, so our first actual card is Bone Dragon. I gotta say like Bone Saw.
Dragon's ready.
So 3 generic black for a creature dragon skeleton. It is a 5/4 flyer. It has an activated ability. A 3 generic black. Exile 7 other cards from your graveyard. Return Bone Dragon from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This is a mythic. So this is an interesting card. I think a 5-mana 5/4 flyer is pretty fine. I guess we've seen it other times. With
It's
better
the right
abilities.
creature type because it can't get shot down by
Right.
by a Glorybringer, so that's important.
That's true. But any card that has the ability to just come back at certain points is probably pretty interesting. Though you're just paying its mana cost every time you do it, so it's probably fine. But I don't know. I don't know how excited I am by this.
It's good that it's just 7 other cards. It doesn't have to be 7 other like creature cards or
Oh,
anything
yeah,
like that. apparently your spells have bones in them, and that you can take the bones out of your spells. I don't know if you knew that. Bones. It needs the bones. But I mean, like, this card's okay.
I think this card's poopy, but
It's okay.
that's just me. Like,
I'm
don't
not,
know.
I'm not impressed with this card, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see it in a deck.
Yeah,
So you-
same here.
You look at a card like Rekindling Phoenix, then you look at this, you're like,
Kindling Phoenix doesn't need the bones.
yeah, it doesn't need the
It
bones.
actually burns the bones.
Yeah.
Uses all
Yeah,
parts of the buffalo.
I don't think this card is going to be constructed playable.
I
But-
disagree with you on that. I think this card would definitely see constructed play, but just because it is a dragon and it does have the ability to come back, it'll definitely see standard play. I'm not saying I'll see tier 1 standard play, but people are going to play this card.
I would be surprised if this saw standard play.
Yeah, it's awkward with like Lyra. Like Lyra still owns the skies for a large portion of the game.
Hey, she's gonna
Blake,
protection from
Blake even on
dragons.
so the front side, right? Just a 5/4 for 5 flying. It's not good.
Yeah,
And
but
then it's like it takes so much to bring this back. I guess the only thing it has going for it is you can do it at instant speed. So you could like end a turn.
right,
return.
and like you already
But-
have you mentioned Sift, for example, or we have like Champion of Wits right now, things like this. This is the kind of card you're fine to discard. You can just dump it into your graveyard, and then oh, by the way, I randomly had a dragon sitting here, so I think for that reason alone it can see play.
Eh.
So, but that's fine. If you don't like it, it's fine. I'm not saying it's a great card. It definitely is a lackluster mythic to me. But
I'm not gonna like defend this card's honor, or anything like that. Like
again,
it's
it is an
it's
o-
dead.
Yeah,
it's
good.
an okay card.
It'd be sweet to open and sealed.
Yeah, it'll be real good and limited.
This is like this is a lot of limited bombs we've gone past.
A
so
mythic
far.
rare, yes.
Even some other
As if
ones that we
there haven't
talked about.
ever been mythic rare bombs
Right.
in sets.
Dave, it's also pretty good though with the next card.
Oh yeah, Death Baron.
Yeah, because it's a dragon skeleton.
It's a skeleton.
Yeah, it gets
Boom.
that touch.
Gotta get that death touch and a +1/+1.
Oh, that's true.
Still dies to Lyra.
Yeah,
But-
unfortunately.
Well, okay.
So Death Baron is a reprint. Probably a card that really needed to be reprinted because it was pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But it's just a generic black 2/2 zombie wizard. Wizard. Has skeletons you control and other zombies you control get +1/+1 and have death touch. So this wasn't super exciting when it first got printed, I believe, in Alara, right? Shards of Alara, I believe. But there are a lot of zombies right now, and zombies.
There are a lot of zombies and zombie lords.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
two lords now specifically.
Yeah.
Right?
There are
We have
technically
Liliana's.
three
If you
lords.
count the enchantment,
Because you have Liliana's
Yeah.
Mastery.
Yeah.
and then Lord of the Accursed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 cards that care about zombies. So
Yeah.
I think like this plus there's a new 1-drop, there's Diagraphical coming back into the format, which is just a black 2/2 zombie that comes into play tapped for 1 black.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, that was definitely played the
It's
first time around.
super played.
So Dread Wanderer.
you
So
saw
have
Dread
the
Wanderer.
requisite 8/1 drops.
Yep.
Yeah,
And a
zombies could.
bunch of lords. You definitely could even look into being like if you're still where there's another card we're going to talk about that's going to be play a role in zombies potentially being a thing, and you still
That's
have the white zombies if you want to not the band, but though
they're
what?
riding Dragulas,
To be fair, I do think that Rob Zombie probably doesn't get a +1/+1 in Death Touch if Death Baron's around, so you got to watch out. Anyway,
But
but
a skeleton.
I mean, he has a skeleton.
That sounds pretty spooky and scary.
Yeah. Anyway, I think this there could be something here.
All right. Next up is Fantasia. I'm sorry, Demon of Catastrophes. 2 generic black for a 6/6 creature demon. As additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature. It has flying and trample. So this is a long line of demons that have a downside. I gotta say though, this is not much of a downside, and this is a pretty good body for a 4. I mean, like he's ripped.
Yeah, he's
but
jacked.
for
The zombie's on the
4 mana.
roids. I mean, this demon's on the roids.
Well, it's all the creatures he's been eating. Yeah,
All that protein.
yeah, exactly.
I like the one guy who's at the rock concert in the front of the art who's got his
Yeah.
arms out. He's just like, yeah, yes,
I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows that he's the guy that's going to get eaten.
this is metal. Where'd you guys all go?
What's
What's the name of this band? I heard his name was Sacrifice. Oh,
It's so metal.
His band's called Ghost. You're the ghost. But this is a card that is bigger than Lyra. Important to note. Yeah.
Also costs 4 mana instead of 5. I think this card's good.
I'm more excited about this card than Bone Dragon.
Yes. Yeah, this card's much better than Bone Dragon.
It's
Though-
pretty easy to get a thing to sack.
Yeah, this one doesn't want to see the Mana War if that one sees plenty
That-
Oh
play.
no, not a fan.
I do think that the additional cost is a real cost.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes your board's just gonna be clear and you're gonna have this in your hand. You're like, oh, or you're gonna have a creature that you don't really want to sacrifice. So obviously, possibly. I guess if the zombies deck has like one last hurrah, you might have some expendable things there that you don't mind sacking.
Even like if there's just like a mono black aggro deck that exists,
Yeah.
like this could be a thing because that was a thing for a little bit. I know that Caleb Shearer literally tried to pioneer, and a lot of those cards are still around.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I'll mention again Dread Wanderer, which also comes back.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure, probably pretty good. We can probably Morgan already talked about Diagraph Ghoul, so we just know that is another cool reprint we're getting back, which
Yep.
will help push zombies over.
One last thing on Demon of Catastrophes.
Oh, yeah.
I literally played. I forget the name of it. The demon that was like, you can't win the game as long as it's in play.
Yeah, Abyssal Persecutor.
yeah. Like your opponent can't lose and you can't win as long as I literally played that in Constructed, and that one is, we'll say, more of a downside than this one. So, yeah,
Wait, not being able
Yeah.
to win the game?
yeah.
Bad?
All right, so next up then. Oh, also should mention Duress is in this set. Not that it matters too much because it was already in Ixalan.
Was
but-
it in Rivals or proper Ixalan?
Yeah,
Doesn't
it was
matter.
in-
Ixalan block.
It was in Ixalan. Yeah, they got the memo.
Yeah, they did. They
We
certainly did.
had Essence Scatter, we get Duress, cancel still. Yeah, cancel whatever, but cancel's there. So yeah.
But next up, another zombie.
Yeah, this is the other 2-drop zombie I was talking about.
Yeah,
It's Graveyard Marshal.
yeah.
Graveyard Marshal cost black for a 3/2 zombie soldier. It has an activated ability of 2 generic and a black. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. I think this card's pretty good. Like, just straight up, 2 mana for a 3/2 it's not embarrassing. And the fact that, you can get a little bit of extra value off of it. You have some extra mana laying around. You can kind of rebuild your board maybe after a sweeper or something like that. Even like they fumigate you or something like that. You have 5 mana, you play this, then you can pay 3 and exile one of the creatures that just died, and then it's like, okay, you have starting to build a board again. So it doesn't take a whole lot for this thing to get going, and I think the fact that it has decent stats on its own, and this isn't even, we're not even talking about any lords or anything in play that would buff it up, so yeah, I think this card's pretty good.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like, it's good on 2 when it attacks, and it's good late when you want to activate the ability. So, solid card, and again, something that is going to continue and make zombies a thing for at least a few months.
Yeah, like zombies needs engine cards. Like
Yeah.
we had that last time zombies was in play. We had the Crypt Breaker and we had Direct Colossus being
Right.
the engine cards that made that deck go.
And Relentless dead.
Yeah, and Relentless. I can't forget about that. So I think that is one thing that zombies is still kind of missing. We have this card, but we don't really have any other sort of engine like cards, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But this is good. It's just a good card.
And this doesn't even necessarily need to be in a zombie centric deck. We mentioned just mono black aggro. That's perfectly
Could definitely-
fine.
yeah,
It's
still
perfectly
take
fine
advantage
card.
of it.
It doesn't have to have another zombie to make it good. So.
That's true.
Before we jump to the next card, I just want to say the art on Infectious Horror, which I believe is a reprint.
Yeah, this is.
It's terrifying. It's gross.
Yeah.
It's just gross
Is that-
art.
Is it Urza Saga? Is that the Urza Saga art?
I think
Yeah, it's
Wasn't
old
that
art. You can tell it's old art
from-
because it's disgusting.
I don't know.
It's nasty. I don't like it. I just want my opinion to be heard on Infectious Horror. Don't
It's
like it.
it's kind of like a skeleton beast with multiple heads and it's breathing fire, I guess.
This looks like it's thrown up.
I don't know.
Hold on.
like
This
it.
says Conflux. That was actually Conflux. Okay,
Conflux,
nice.
yeah.
And that is the original art for it. So there
Dislike.
you go. Yeah.
Thumbs down.
Oh, Mike, did you want to mention your hired blade?
Oh yeah, I shouldn't be thinking about that. So yeah, Hired Blade is just a random black common. It's 2 generic and a black for a 3/2 creature human assassin that has flash,
It got Flash.
and it confused the heck out of me because flash is not it has not been a main or a secondary ability
Yeah,
in
it's
black. It's
tertiary.
tertiary, and usually it's been used at rare, right, or in blue black cards. So to see a common get it was interesting. So I actually tweeted at Mark Rosewater, and he did respond to me almost immediately. It's like, hey, what's up with this? And he said they have moved Flash into secondary for black now. And when I asked him why, he said it made flavorful sense, and they felt the black needed an ability push, especially since like Skulk did not end up working out. That makes sense. So and it does make sense. Like this is an assassin. You shouldn't see them coming. They just appear. And this is something that Green has used mechanically for a while, like the pouncing cheetah or something like things like that, ambush viper, that sort of thing. So this makes sense in black. So
Why does Higher Blade look like Waluigi?
because he's not in Super Smash Brothers.
It's gonna take out Luigi. Wow. But I like it, especially when we're going into Ravnica and the Dimir. It makes sense for them to be stealthy and sneaky
Yeah.
and be able to like surprise people. So I think that makes sense moving into this, and I would expect Dimir to potentially be quite flashy.
Fair enough.
All right. Okay, so the real next card.
It's another
It's
weird
another
one.
1-mana instant. Infernal Reckoning. So it costs a single black for an instant. Exile target colorless creature. You gain life equal to its power. And this is like, if you look at the art in this, it's kind of the cool thing about the core sets because we're not just on like one plane.
Yeah, we got
it's
little
like literally
snapshots.
an Eldrazi.
It's like a Polaroid.
Yeah. So we would
Wish you were here.
we have a demon kind of like crushing an Eldrazi.
Juicing them.
Yeah.
That's what Mike
Is
and I
this- is it-
established.
Is this supposed to be somebody specific?
That's what I asked.
I don't think so.
but
Or at
the
least
flavor.
not-
The flavor text makes me think it's like
it-
somebody that
it's like
you
an
know.
actual
Yeah, maybe when we go back to Ravnica, we'll find that there's a new demon on the block now that Obnixilis done pieced out from that plane.
Yeah, like is this supposed to be Obnixilis?
No,
No,
it's
I guess
not
not.
Omnixilus. Omnixilus
Anyway.
wasn't this big.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a
This
big one.
person is standing above this demon is standing above the trees.
above the trees, and yeah, has an Eldrazi in his
Also
in his
ripped.
hand.
He should meet that other demon. They should do.
They
like,
should-
Maybe,
they
it-
probably
maybe,
do.
maybe it is the other
They
demon.
should work out
They
together.
probably do. Let's be real. We don't know that other demon isn't on Zendikar. It's just
Yeah.
in a cave somewhere.
It's fair.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it
he's
actually-
juicing this Eldrazi.
Yeah, but it mentions Zendikar literally in the flavor text.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it specifically also to kill Eldrazi.
Yeah. I like this card probably more than I should, just because like
Did you actually say what the card did?
yeah I did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I lost it there. I buried the lead.
I like can't stand Eldrazi. I hate that Eldrazi is a thing.
Says the guy who played Red Green Eldrazi a couple months ago.
Well, yeah, I couldn't beat him, so I joined. But hey, if I had my choice, then I would choose to never play him. But yeah, so being able to kill Thought-Knot here for 1 mana and gain life, yeah, sweet. But yeah, standard. I mean, we can kill a construct, or I mean,
I mean, if you kill a really big one,
you can
it's
kill like
pretty
a
cool.
Traxos if that's not going to see
You
play.
can.
So,
yeah, it's true. This obviously feels like a modern to legacy plant,
Yeah.
which is perfectly fine. I think like this card is definitely something that has it's still narrow, but definitely has more applications than you think. It kills manlands, right? They're colorless creatures.
A lot of them.
Oh no,
a lot
they
of
gain
them-
colors.
Yeah, they
That's
gain
right.
colors.
Oh,
You can hit you can
darn.
hit like Blinkmoth Nexus. or
Yeah,
Blinkmoth
so
Nexus.
those manlands, they
You can-
No, I
still
mean, yeah,
counts.
it's generally pretty good against Affinity.
Yeah, Infinity and Eldrazi, and
It-
like
awkwardly though, it can't hit like
uh,
Master.
like Vault Scourge.
yeah,
or-
it cannot hit Vault Scourge.
Yeah, but I think Ceremonious Rejection is still a better card in general than this. But if you're not playing blue, I guess
Right.
this is the thing you can do.
Yeah. Again, another weird card from the set to open though, but it is what it is. So
I appreciate that they made it. I just don't know how
I
much
agree.
play it'll see.
it just, I don't know. I'm glad it's a rare, so it doesn't show up that often because this card does nothing. But
Yeah,
next up is Isareth the Awakener. This is 1 generic black for a 3/3 legendary creature human wizard. Another wizard.
Oh
in
yeah,
black.
going blue black wizards now.
It has Death Touch, and then it has a giant wall of text. Whenever Isarath the Awakener attacks, you may pay X. When you do, return target creature card with a converted mana cost for X from your graveyard to the battlefield with a corpse counter on it. If that creature would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. So,
Yeah.
I it's a really powerful, like, that whole ability is super powerful.
Yeah.
But, you know, comparing this to the Angel as a 3-mana 3/3, this just doesn't feel anywhere close to that. Death Touch is nice, but I don't know. I don't know where I want to play this card. You know, if I compare this to something like Gonti, for example, which we have in Standard already, I want Gonti every time because I always get a card. So I don't know. This is powerful, but I don't know what to do with it.
Creatures with an ability that only triggers on attack are generally not great
because they have
constructed.
they have to make it there.
They have to make it there. What did I don't have it up in front of me. What did Alicia, who smiles at death, do? Was that like a similar ability?
It was when it attacked. You had to pay.
It was
like a
black white,
Boros or something?
black white.
Yeah, black
Yeah.
white hybrid,
Yeah.
and then that was just 2. Honestly, it was 3.
I
I think it was just 2. But yeah, did it return a creature or something like
It
that?
did. It returned a creature with, I think it was a mana cost, like a CMC or CMC or power 2 or less is what it was.
I remember having a similar
But that was like a 4/2
Type
that had
ability.
with that first strike or something.
3/2 first strike.
3/2 first strike. That's what it was.
yeah, 3/2 first strike. Whenever Alicia smiles at death attacks, you may pay black white hybrid. If you do, return target creature card with power 2 or less
Yeah, power
from the
2.
graveyard, battlefield tapped and attacking. So
Yeah,
it attacked as well.
So somewhat similar. I think like a lot of people thought that this card would see play, and it really didn't.
And I think that's the better card, the one you just read. Yeah, Alicia's up.
Yeah.
Yo, it's in a better color to attack. First strike's better than Death Touch if you want it to survive, and that creature coming back tapped and attacking is pretty great. So
I mean, it does depend on what you're trying to do.
that's true, I suppose.
And this one can be mana intensive. Like if you want to bring back
Yeah.
anything that's worth.
That
Worth
one could
a
bring
lot.
back Hornet Queen by itself, though. So,
Good.
Yes,
It could.
it could.
I'm just saying.
I mean, this might be like if we're talking about like mono black aggro, whatever. Maybe like a one of could do some things, but I'm not really feeling this card. It's cool. I think it's a cool card. It's
I could see it in Brawl.
yeah.
Yeah,
So Brawl Commander.
Brawl would be pretty cool. This card.
Seems like super fun casual card. I just don't think that.
I wish it wasn't so mana intensive. If it wasn't so mana intensive, I think like you start to open up where this card can see play, but there's not really a decks that like that really make this viable. I still like the dream is like play as in Humans in Modern and just be able to rebuy all your stuff. But that clearly does not make any sense. So
It is a human though.
it is a human, but you don't have a lot of mana in Humans. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I have this. What was it Ziggurat? Ancient Ziggurat.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah, real
even use
awkward.
to pay it. Yeah. All right. New Liliana again.
Yes.
Lily
More lilies.
Liliana, untouched by death. So she is 2 generic black for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. She has a +1 of put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. If at least one of them is a zombie card, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. -2 of target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of zombies you control. And a -3 of you may cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. So obviously, you're going to want to play this in a zombie deck, because otherwise it's not going to do a whole lot. But
Weird.
yeah, but we talked
That's why we
about
have Dave on. It's for those
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
critical assessments.
right. So yeah, obviously you're not going to play this outside of a zombie deck, but we talked about zombies doesn't really need a whole lot to push it right now, and I think like if it does make a comeback, this is definitely a card you want to look at because I think especially like with the -2, being able to activate that twice, like you could just play this -2, kill something, and then next turn -2 again. It's just 2-for-1 removal spell essentially. -3, I'm not sure how often that'll come up though. There might be some scenario where you play this, +1, drain him, and the next turn you kind of get to go ham, like casting all your cards out of your graveyard. So I don't know. Yeah, obviously, this is a very specific, deck that this needs, but in that one deck, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit of this before. When I read this card, I was like, okay, and then totally was sort of blown away by the last ability, because it seemed used to reading a Planeswalker in order to get to an ultimate, and that was pretty unique. I think that this Liliana really encourages you to play multiples. Like, you want to play more than one of them,
Yes.
because the every tick up from the first one feeds the possibility of the -3 being good for the next one. So I think it's pretty good, because it also makes your opponents have to play pretty careful with wrath effects, especially if this is on the board. You can't just be like, I'll play off Fumigate, go, and you're like, okay, cool, I'll tick down, and oh look, the cat came back the very next day.
Yeah,
so
it plays into like the durability of zombies, where it's like they never really fully go away.
That's why
like,
Liliana likes them so much.
Yeah.
It's durable.
Yeah, they just keep coming.
Yeah, I like this card. To me, this kind of says that obviously we have a good amount of zombie cards, a good amount of synergy cards that go with them. This is going to be one of those engine cards. This is what's going to help power the zombies deck if it does exist. And to me, it almost says that hopefully Wizards will come through and like keep supporting zombies as a tribe into Ravnica blocks, so this can still continue to be viable. Because if not, this Planeswalker is so narrow for like no good reason. It needs tribal support to actually be viable. It's not just like throwing in like a lord here and there and whatever, and like just not caring about it, but like having like one of your marquee mythics just be so narrow. I would hope that like we see some synergies with this card with like the Golgari tribe or guild when we hit Ravnica block.
Yeah,
Luckily, this is the only Planeswalker this narrow.
Yeah, that's very
So
true.
We don't have any more issues with that.
But I like this card.
That's sarcasm, Dave.
Oh yeah.
Sarcasm. Sarcasm.
Sarcasm. But I like this card, to be honest.
So
I think like I hope that people underrate it.
It's a sweet design.
Yeah, I hope people underrate it so it becomes cheap, and then like I can build a sweet zombies deck and not have to pay a lot of money.
And not to say this again, but actually I think this is the actual one you want for your Brawl Commander.
It's
Brawl.
it's pretty awkward though, because like you definitely would probably want to play like some white zombies with it. So I don't know.
Meh.
Just play white zombie in the background. I think it'll be fine.
yeah. Couple things on this. This reminds me a lot of the Tezzeret. What was
Tezzeret
it, the
the
blue
Seeker?
black one?
Oh, Tezzeret,
Agent of Bolus.
Ancient Bolus, yeah.
That's the
No,
blue black Tezzeret. Or you mean
There's two blue black
current
Tezzerets. The one in
that's
standard. Yeah.
whatever
Yeah,
that
I
was.
know. The other one's standard.
Where it's like, was it +1 make a
A
basically
Ethereum
a
cell.
treasure? Yeah, essentially a
It's
treasure.
an Ethereum cell. It's important for him flavorfully.
Yeah, and then the minus is like
All right.
similar, where it's a
Four of
+X
those.
-X,
I don't know his name.
or maybe it's -X. Anyway,
Yeah, no, I know.
but like that's a card that's like, okay, you need to put this in a deck with a lot of artifacts, and so
Right.
far it hasn't really done anything.
No.
And I think that's something that's a card that had similar deck building constraints with it. So I guess it really depends on how good Zombies is. Will depend on how good this is.
But I think that Tezzeret didn't lend itself to wanting to be aggressive, and I think this Liliana works better at wanting to be aggressive.
Yeah, that's fair. Second thing, it's weird that this doesn't make zombie tokens of some kind, right? Like we've had so many Lilianas that like, mill make a zombie like the.
I would
Majesty.
be surprised if some point in time in development that this did make
Yeah.
it, and then I don't know. Maybe they found out that that's not what you needed. I wouldn't surprise me if the +1 of this was very similar to the +1 of Death's Majesty, and then realized that maybe the aggressive zombie deck didn't need that; it needed reach, and this what this card can provide is reach.
Yeah, I could definitely see that going down that way. Last thing is, I'm totally fine with them making cards like this because Planeswalkers
Yeah,
they've gotten even better than they were with the new redirection rule, and I think like people kind of underestimated that until people actually started playing games and like, oh, I can't like kill things with Chandra anymore. I
Yeah.
can't do this. So if they have like these very specific Planeswalkers that only go in a very specific deck, I'm totally fine with that. We need less just generically good Planeswalkers.
The cookie cutter
Yeah.
Vivian, if you will.
Yeah.
Next up, let's talk about Liliana's contract. And this is where we get very, very lawyery on the show. We're actually go line by line through her contract. Liliana will be party
Figure
A.
out where she messed up. Figure out where
party-
she forgot
party-
the Nicol Bolas clause.
Party of the first part.
Spoilers. Sorry, spoilers.
Now, when you say clause, do you mean his clause, or do you mean the clause in the contract? Anyways, or the Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, yeah.
So this is a 3 generic black for an enchantment. It says, when Liliana's contract enters the battlefield, you draw 4 cards and you lose 4 life. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more demons with different names, you win the game. So pretty interesting here. First, I like that this is essentially an infernal contract, right? Like that is actually the card that you draw 3, you draw 4 and you lose 4, or something like it's. Is it draw 4 and lose half your life, or is it actually draw 4 and lose 4?
It was draw 3, lose half your life.
Oh, was that what
It might be draw 4, but yeah, I don't know.
But it's similar idea. Like there are old like demonic contracts in Magic that work like this. And then of course the second clause is the not technically the Bolas clause, but I guess it is the Bolas clause. But you have to have 4 demons with different names, different demons, and those count as the sort of, I don't know, the backers. Of your loan.
I mean, you obviously have number 1 dad, Demon Lord Belzenlock.
Number 1 dad's really good.
But I mean, there's obviously like
World's best boss, Demon Lord Belzenlock.
yeah, world's best boss, as we all know.
Oh man.
But we have the demon that we just talked about. There are a few demons floating around in standard here and there.
We also had that deck pitched to us last week, Morgan, that featured the blue enchantment from Ixalan, the one that you could choose a creature type, and then all creatures become that type. So you just make all your creatures demons,
and then you play this card.
and you play this card.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mean, I know it's not good, but it's funny.
This card's interesting. I mean, I'm glad that it does something immediately. Like drawing 4 cards is pretty powerful. And that secondary clause that might not be anything, but I don't know.
I think that when you look at the demons we've looked at, and again, of course, number 1 dad / world best boss Belzenlock, if you have 4 of those different creatures in play, I don't think you needed this enchantment.
Yeah, you're probably winning the game anyway.
They're all pretty good.
Yeah.
So that seems like a little bit of overkill to me, but it's cool. It's flavorful. And someone will try to do it. I know I'll go to F&M.
I mean,
they'll have 3 demons in play. I'm like, this is weird. And all of a sudden, this will come down. I'm like, oh, I got it.
Mike, didn't you try to make a deck with the Hedron alignment?
No, I never did.
Oh, you never did? Okay.
I wanted to, but God, no.
That was another card that's like, yeah, this is
better
almost
than
impossible.
Hedron alignment. This is a lot better than Hedron alignment. This card at
Yeah,
least draws you 4
yeah,
cards.
at least it does something. Does something on its own. Yeah, sure.
This art's really cool, by the way. If you haven't seen the art, it's like the moment where the contract is like signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours.
So if you've seen the My Brother and Me show, we will sign the contracts. It is time to sign the contracts. Let the contracts be signed.
But like you can see, like even old Liliana transforming into like new Liliana. Like she has white hair and half the picture is pretty cool. It's kind of obscured, but like if you zoom in,
it's really
zoom in close enough. I want to know, like, I mean, I'm not here to like question the clothing choice of Liliana, but old Liliana was wearing that that bodice, like. Okay, all right.
That's Liliana, man.
Young at heart,
Yeah, you know what? More power to you, Liliana. I wouldn't be brave enough to pull it off, but you let your clothing choices, fly. I don't know. Free flag fly. I guess I don't know. Anyway,
all right.
I know you're going to talk about Nightmare's Thirst. We should mention that Murder is also back.
Yeah, Murder's back. You can straight murder things now.
Yeah, so, just remember.
Also, Murder's getting one of those sweet promos.
Yeah, it's going right in the battle box.
Yeah. Nightmare's Thirst. It's a single black instant. You gain 1 life. Target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. So just on its own, it's -1. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about this one.
I put it on here because I think it's a really clever and interesting design, but I also think that you could design your deck with this in mind for sure, and I think it could be deceptively powerful as a 1-mana spell. We already talked about Resplendent Angel, where you have to you get 1 hit with Lyra or something like that. But here in black too, you have access to Gifted Aetherborn, and we mentioned Vraska's Contempt before, where all of a sudden you can get an attack in and then this becomes -3/-3 or -4/-4 or whatever else for 1 mana. And while it's certainly not going to push out Fatal Push anytime soon, I think it's a powerful effect.
Yeah, I agree with that. You definitely have to make it work for you. I definitely think there are enough things within the format that you can probably get this going a little bit. But it's narrow. But even as like something like a 1-mana 1/1, like a 1-mana -1/-1, we see like Fungal Infection already see play, and this isn't exactly the same, but it kind of does some similar things. And if there's just so many things that are important to keep in mind if there are any sort of things that are like tacit life gain that are still like perfectly viable to be played.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be too situational for constructed.
Potentially. I definitely don't think it makes its way into main decks unless there is something overtly powerful within the format that powers it. But I could see it where it's sideboard play for fast decks.
Yeah.
Against fast decks.
I should also make mention for anybody who has ever suffered from sleep paralysis, the art on this card is abjectly terrifying. So good job on that one. It is not like it looks like an older style of like Magic art, and the creature sitting on that man's chest is not good.
It's supposed to harken back to an actual piece of art as well. I forget what the name of the art is, though. Because I'm uncultured swine.
That's fine.
I'm gonna talk about a couple cards that aren't on the list real quick here.
Okay.
So we had a reprint of Phylactery Lich.
Mm-hmm.
It's triple black, 5/5 indestructible zombie. Pretty awesome, right? Oh wait. When it enters the battlefield, you put a Phylactery counter on an artifact you control. When you control no permanents with a Phylactery counter, sacrifice Phylactery Lich. So this card was around. Was it second Mirrodin?
This has been printed at least twice before this.
I remember it was around when there was another artifact set. It never really caught on.
No, it did not.
But we still, for the moment, have Kaladesh block in the format. So there are a bunch of little artifacts you could play. Obviously, triple black is a pretty heavy cost, so you're gonna have to be a mono black or near mono black deck. But it's pretty powerful. Now, we'll say it is awkward that a Braid is seeing so much play. So maybe that just keeps this out from being constructed playable. But
it was in M11 and M13.
Okay. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's not that much before, and while it looks triple black is so tough, you talk about those artifacts, but those artifacts are generally being played in conjunction with blue, not so much black, or blue black, but triple black is tough. So yeah. I agree the card is powerful and has a chance with something small coming into play, but between a Braid and cast out and stuff like that, you have to work really hard to get this.
Yeah, and then hopefully not get 2 for 1.
Yeah. And the other card, which I think is actually pretty good, is Plague Mare.
No, stop. Horsies are on there. They're under gold because we're going to talk about all 5 of them as a cycle.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to that one.
We'll come back to the Horsies.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's probably the best one.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, probably the best one.
So, you good on something else you want to mention? Did you want to mention your bloody reassembling skeleton?
No.
Okay. Can we mention Skeleton Archer for a second and just say, why do you keep breaking the color pie and
why?
say it's okay? It's a common that deals 1 damage to any target because it has a bow, so that's why.
Arrows, man. Arrows.
Whatever.
To be fair, I actually wish this card did, and it's probably too powerful, but I wish that it put a -1/-1 counter on target creature.
Yeah, because it has an arrow sticking out of it.
Well, we had the Orcish Archer from...
Yeah.
From Dragons Tarkir or something.
Yeah.
Cons.
Something like
that. You also had
Ruthless Sniper.
Yeah, Ruthless Sniper you have as well.
I mean, we've seen that clearly Black can do this, does have this availability. And it just switches back and forth between players losing life and players being dealt damage. So whatever.
Can I just say that I appreciate cards? It's so the name of this card is Skeleton Archer, and it's creature Skeleton Archer.
Sometimes,
hey man, that's my name. What do you want me to say?
When sometimes
you just day Archer.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just get it perfect. I don't know.
Last card in black we're going to talk about is Stitcher's Supplier, which is a black, single black for a 1/1 creature zombie. When it enters the battlefield or dies, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard.
This is an innocuous card, but I think it's really powerful.
It's super powerful.
When you see it combined with like Liliana, for example, where you might want to flood your graveyard, and this is almost guaranteed 6 cards in your graveyard, it's pretty good. And we also, I know, when I looked at it, I was like, okay, I could do that. And then Morgan was like, yeah, but also like Dredge is a thing. And I was like, oh, okay, that's also
really
true.
good. You could even look at like Legacy Dredge that plays something like Cabal Therapy. Like, oh, that's real good, ain't it? How about that? It's a lot of it's a lot of cards in graveyard velocity, and that's what those kind of graveyard center decks always look for. And this card does it well.
We've seen many flavors of Godfire's Gift.
Yeah,
and
very true.
Standard, with blue white, mono red, whatever, blue red, maybe blue black.
Yeah, blue black or Esper.
Something that you could just throw down, chump block something, get 6 cards in the yard. I mean,
yeah,
it's legit.
For sure.
Yeah, this card is like super powerful for just a 1-mana creature, I think. So.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so that's black. I think black got some really interesting cards.
Yeah, I think like we know that Zombie's going to have at least one last push and possibly still continue to be good even after rotation. And black also got some pretty interesting cards. And
got the demon.
Got that sweet demon.
Jack Demon.
Sure. the Jack Demon. So
I think I've had that before. It's got a kick.
It's got. So I think this is where we're going to break off part 1 of the set review. So we'll close out for part 1 and be prepared for part 2 either right after this or next week. But do a quick sign off here. So thank you for listening here for the first bit of our construction set review of Core Set 19. If you want to reach out to us, you can do so via our Twitter. It's at YourEnStep. When you add us at YourEnStep, or email at YourEnStep@gmail.com, or Facebook. Just do a search for at YourEnStep. Thank you to our sponsor, Comic Town, for being a part of the show and contributing to our overall success. We have a Patreon as well if you want to be a contributor to our success as well. And it's patreon.com/@YourEnStep. And if you are listening to us via iTunes, feel free to leave us a review and a rating. It really helps with visibility. And if you're listening to us via MTGcast, check out some of the other awesome shows they have on there. We'll close out this portion of the set review. So we'll catch you next time. You have a great one. Bye.